Alright, so this is part 9 of Welding Red Seal test. There will be the question it read, and then a pause for you to answer, and then I will answer. Alright. The term is direct current welders produce current that flows in only one direction, in accordance with how the welder is set according to polarity. What is one way that polarity can be changed in the welding machine? Manually reverse the welding cables. Divine. So this is weld type made of light gauge metal with one or both of the joint members bent to approximately 90 degrees. A flange weld. The welding position where welding is performed on the upper side of the joint and the weld face is approximately horizontal. Flat position. Blank energy is typical energy source used to power a pump in irrigation, automotive, and fluid power systems. Blank energy is electrical energy. The correct motion for cutting is chopping, up and down. Protective clothing used in the shop must be worn correctly at all times, including gloves, foot, eye, hearing, and hard hats. Color coding is used in a shop to warn, inform, and guide employees. True or false? That is true. It's also the OSHA assigned colors for specific meetings. Large open spaces are needed in agricultural mechanic shops as compared with other shops for blank. Student project work. Identify the following metal property as physical, mechanical, or chemical. Solubility. That is a physical. Hands-on experience means blank. The process of learning by doing. Agricultural mechanic stems mostly from physics. Agricultural mechanics includes the occupation of garden tractor repair person. True or false? That is true. Fire hazards associated with painting can be reduced by, sure, it can be reduced by a lot of things, but this one says using a special paint booth. Fire can always be prevented by stopped by eliminating blank. Any of the items on the fire triangle. Blank welding is a welding process that uses acetylene as fuel gas. Oxyacetylene. The safety zone around a machine should be marked with a stripe or line. Electrical wiring for shop mechanics should be installed by a licensed electrician. Blank energy is stored energy a body has due to its position, chemical state, or mechanical condition. That energy is potential. Potential energy. Blank energy is stored energy ready to be used. Static. Static energy. The metal or alloy to be added in marking a welding joint. In making a welding joint. The metal or alloy to be added in making a welded joint. Filler material. The process of hardening low carbon or mild steel by adding carbon, nitrogen, or combination of carbon and nitrogen to the outer surface, forming a hard, thin shell. Case hardening. Metal transfer in which molten metal from a consumable electrode is spread across the arc in large drops. Globular transfer. Electrode that has been moderately forceful arc and deposit rate. The rate is between those of the fast freeze and the fast fill electrodes. Fill freeze electrode. Steel and carbon range of 0.30 to 0.45 is called medium carbon steel. Distance from the point of tangency to the flange of the flange weld to the edge of the flange before welding is called the flange height. Rounded interior corner can be called fillet. Cross-sectional distance of a flange weld from the weld face to the weld root is called flange weld thickness. When heat from the oxyacetylene flame is directed to a weld area, a depression of blank is formed. Molten metal or the weld pool puddle. Blank is a metal used to outline areas that are not to be brazed. Stop off. Blank is the force that distributes the liquid filler metal between the surface of the joint and that are close together. Capillary action. Blank is a metal joining process whereby the filler material is heated above melting point and then distributed between two or more close-fitting parts by capillary action. The filler metal is brought slightly above its melting, liquidus temperature, while protected by the suitable atmosphere, usually a flux. It then flows over the base metal, known as wetting, and then cooled to join the workpieces together. It is similar to soldering, except the temperatures used to melt the fiber are higher. So blank is a metal joining process explained. This is brazing. So this has a bunch of numbers. So 0 feet, 0 inches, times 0 feet, 0 inches, times 0 feet, 0 inches, or 1728 cu.in. And what they're talking about here is cubic foot. I haven't had one that looked like that before. Alright. The fourth digit in electrode number designates the special characteristics of the electrode. Joining together of dissimilar metals by capillary action is adhesion. A surfacing operation where material is deposited on the surface to restore dimensions is called buildup. Weld joint formed when two weld members located approximately in the same plane are positioned edge to edge. Butt joint. Not to be confused with butt crack. That's a totally different thing. Force by which a liquid or in contact with a solid is distributed between faying surfaces. Capillary action. The property of a circuit or device that permits it to store an electrical charge. Capacitance. Oxy-fuel flame with an excess of fuel carburizing flame or reducing. Case hardening process for low carbon steels that uses an environment with significant carbon potential and a temperature above the upper critical temperature is called carburizing. Probably saying that wrong. In the blank feed system, the electrode must have enough strength to be pushed through the conduit without kinking. Push type. The advantage of blank feed system is that the bulky system of gears is eliminated. Linear. While less likely to be automated, welding equipment can be automated easily. So I'm going to read that again. While less likely to be automated, blank welding equipment can be automated easily. GMA. Any type of testing that damages the test part or specimen. Destructive testing. The distance from the fusion face to the weld interface. Depth of fusion. The ratio of the weight of filler metal deposited in the weld metal to the weight of the filler metal melted, expressed as a percentage. It's a lot of words. I'm going to read it again. The ratio of the weight of the filler metal deposited in the weld to the weight of the filler metal when it's melted, expressed in a percentage. This is called the disposition efficiency. Electrically non-conducting is dielectric, dielectric. Direct current electrode, negative, is an agreement of direct current arc welding that leads in which the negative DCEN electrode is the negative pole and the workpiece is the positive pole of the welding arc. True or false? That is true. An arrangement of direct current arc welding leads where the positive DCEP electrode is the positive pole and the workpiece is the negative pole of the welding arc is called direct current electrode positive. Is that the same as what we just read? Change in the original shape of a metal as it expands when heated and contracts when cooled. Distortion. Fillet weld that has filler metal deposited on both sides. A connection which has a fillet weld on both the arrow side and the other side of the joint. A double fillet weld. Groove weld having joint members beveled. So I'm going to start that again. Groove weld having joint members beveled on both sides with the weld made from both sides is called double bevel groove. Not to be switched with the Emperor's New Groove. Although that's a really good cartoon. Groove weld having joint members grooved in a U shape on both sides of the joint welded from both sides. Double U groove weld. A weld formed in grooves between the curved member and the flat or planar member. A round bar laid on a plate. This is called double flare bevel. A joint in which the part is prepared with a J shape on the arrow side and the other side, and its matting part made square. Double J groove weld. A weld formed in grooves between curved members. Two round bars laid beside each other. Double flared V weld. Groove weld having joint members angled on both sides with the weld made from both sides. Double V groove weld. A connection created where the joint faces are parallel, having zero bevel angle, and welded from both sides. Double square groove. A travel angle where the electrode points in the direction opposite to the progression of welding. Drag angle. The ability of a material to deform physically, permanently, without fracturing. A metal's ability to stretch, bend, twist without cracking or breaking is known as ductivity. Quack, quack. Doing great. Welding process with a shield gas arc between a continuous wire electrode and the weld metal is called gas metal arc welding. Welding process in which shielding gas pockets and arc between the tungsten electrode and the weld area. Gas tungsten arc welding. The surface of the base metal that is melted during welding. Fusion phase. The melting together of filler metal and base metal or base metal only to produce a weld. Distance fusion, fusion welding. Weld type made in a groove of pieces to be welded. Groove weld. Effective holding length of a rivet. This is considered its grip. Pattern of the grains in a metal. Grain structure. Individual crystals in a metal that has multiple crystals. Grain. Blank is a group of cutting processes that uses heat generated by an oxy-fuel gas flame. Oxy-fuel cutting. A blank flame is a flame which there is an excess of oxygen. Oxidizing. True or false? Amperage set too low will cause undercutting. That is false. An E in the electrode stands for electrode. I was trying to be tricky and it was going to be something else. Metal may be cleaned before brazing with a... It doesn't say. It says all the answers listed above. Sorry. The most popular brazing alloy is blank. Copper, zinc. Shielded metal arc welding is also called stick welding. Two pieces laying flat end to end may be joined by a blank. Butt weld. Blank is a tool that mixes gases in the correct proportions and permits the mixture to flow to a tip where it is burned. Welding torch. In the blank mixture consists of slight excess of acetylene. The flame is carburizing or reducing. If the blank mixture consists of slight excess of acetylene, the flame is carbonizing or reducing. Oxyacetylene. If the oxyacetylene mixture is wrong. Dimension from the root of the weld to the toes of the weld after welding. Fillet weld leg size. A material used to provide a slag cover on the molten weld pool to prevent the contamination from the atmosphere and control the amount of impurities in the weld. Flux. Metal formed by a mechanical or hydraulic press with or without heat. Forged. Distance from a joint root to the weld toe. Fillet weld leg. Weld pass that fills the remaining portion of the weld after the root pass and hot pass. Filler pass. Steel with a carbon range of 0.05 to 0.30. Low carbon steel. Properties that describe the behavior of metals under applied loads. These are mechanical properties. Any material through which electricity easily flows is a conductor. True or false? That's true. The alloy iron core carrying the coils of insulated wire to be revolved through the magnetic field are called amperage. Blank welding is the resistance welding process that produces a weld on the matting surfaces of parts using the heat obtained from resistance to the flow of the current through the surface contact areas while they are under pressure. Oh, that one's upset. Blank examination requires the use of cleaner, a penetrant, and a developer to complete the test process. Liquid penetrant. Blank welding is accomplished by either hand feeding or high-speed welding techniques. Hot gas. Blank welding is used to butt or miter weld sheet, bar, rod, tubing, and extruded sections. Flash. Force occurs when a mechanical load is applied axially to stretch the test specimen. What type of force? Tensile. Blank plastics are not wearable. Thermosetting. Blank testing involves taking sample portions of a weld structure and subjecting them to loads until they fail. Destructive. Slow progressive strain that causes metal to fail. Creep. Temperature above which steel must be heated so it will harden when quenched. Critical temperature. Hole in the cone-shaped opening or recess at the outer surface. Countersunk hole. Tool that produces a countersunk hole. Countersink. Hole with a cone-shaped opening below the other surface. Counter-drilled hole. Solid composed of atoms arranged in a pattern that is representative in 3 dimensions. So I'm going to read that again. Solid composed of atoms arranged in a pattern that is repetitive in 3 dimensions. Crystal. Ability of metal to resist failure when subjected to very low temperatures. Cryogenic properties. Line that shows where an object is imagined to be cut in order to view internal features. It's called the cutting plane. Movement of electrons through the conductor. Current. Process of hardening low-carbon steel by heating it in sodium cyanide or potassium cyanide. Cyaniding. What is 1 inch times 1 inch times 1 inch, or its equivalent? That's a cubic inch. The weight of material deposited in a unit of time. Deposition rate. Flange weld with 1 joint member bent. Corner flange weld. Any type or piece connector that is used to change size or direction, to make a connection or to change the pipe specification from the one point to another. Pipe fitting. A hollow body used for the connection between 2 or more pieces of equipment, tanks, valves, or whatever needs to be joined together for transporting liquid or gas. Pipe. The best fuel gas to cut and weld with. Acetylene. What does RFSO stand for? RFSO. Raised face slip-on. Sounds like slippers. Keep your toes warm. What does BOE stand for? Bevel one end. The process of cutting the flange on an S or W pipe to narrow its width. This is called blocking. Located in the right-hand upper or lower corner is where you'll find bill of materials. That is true. When cutting, the flame When cutting, the flame cones should be about blank from the metal. 1/8 of an inch. When cutting slag, should slag be caught in a slag box? When piercing, the clearance is increased after preheating to do what? Reduce the hazard from molten metal. When the correct torch cut is in progress, there will be a smooth, even sound. Plasma arc cutting is used to cut. Doesn't tell me, it says all the answers listed above. The most popular soldering alloy is tin lead. Cutting pipe is much like cutting blank. Plate. Definition: either the pin is pulled and the lever is pressed, or the extinguisher is inverted depending on the extinguisher. So this is, most fire extinguishers will discharge when. So when you pull the pin and then press the lever, or if the extinguisher is inverted, it will turn on. Fire in the hole, pull the pin. Oxygen hoses and related equipment are color-coded. What color? Green. Removing gas from oxyacetylene equipment is known as bleeding the lines. Electrical equipment is what it's called for a burning material associated with a C-class fire. True or false? That one is true.